You know what I'm talking about. We've all sat in a room feeling like we don't belong. And honestly, you're definitely not alone. That's why today's episode is so important. We're diving into the psychology of success in STEM, how to stay motivated and keep a positive mindset through challenges like imposter syndrome and moments of uncertainty. Today, I'm excited to talk with Odeal Jacob, Director of Strategy and Operations at Moderna. With over a decade of experience leading complex multi-million dollar programs and driving cultural change in biotech, Odile understands the pressure and doubts that come with a high stakes STEM career. She's here to share how to push past those feelings, build real confidence, and stay motivated through the tough moments. Welcome back to One in STEM podcast. If you're new here, I'm your friend in STEM, Mary, and on this show, we dive deep into demystifying the world of STEM and breaking down barriers. I bring on inspiring guests who share the tools and insights you need to thrive and succeed in your STEM journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the episode. Odeal Jacob, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for including me and inviting me to this, my first ever podcast. So excuse any slip ups, anything I might say or might not say, but grateful and thankful for you, Marie, for including me in this podcast and this conversation.
I'm so honored. I'm your first podcast, and I'm so excited and ready to talk about the mental side of STEM careers. I feel like it's a topic people really don't talk about, especially in the STEM world. Everybody thinks it's just grades and grades only. But I know it's more than that, and you know that it's more than that. So that's why we're here. And I just want to jump right in and ask you, for those who might not know your story yet, how did your journey in STEM begin?
My journey in STEM began not knowing anything about STEM. So the journey became from just knowing that there was two subjects I knew I liked and did well in, and that was math and science. And for myself, when I started university at community college, my brother actually took me to my first community college. When I went up to register for courses, they ask you, what's your major? Like, what do you want to focus on? And I just said, I like math and science. What majors do you have that complements both? And I started my STEM careers and my STEM journey in undergrad, community college with a biological science major, moved into BU in their biomedical laboratory and clinical science program. And then further along the line, went and got an MBA. STEM really is something that I focused on when I got my bachelor's degree. It happened after the passing of my brother. So I lost my brother in 2014.
I'm so sorry.
15, my family and I knew we were going to lose my father. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So that is when I think my career journey and recognizing leaning into STEM was very prevalent for myself. And just having great people like mentors, amazing college professors, classmates, and family has really propelled my STEM career and journey. And my dad's diagnosis and the study period during that is what kind of hunkered down in my love and appreciation for STEM.
Well, I'm so sorry for your losses. I know, especially when you're trying to pivot through like a hard, and especially you're studying math and sciences, it's just very mentally draining. And also having to go through that, like it just speaks to the kind of person you are who kept on going and kept on persevering. Just because like I'm doing this for the people that I love is just such a testament to our conversation about how mental health will help you go through things if you have the right mindset as well. You did touch upon getting your MBA. I know some people might be like, oh, she went from science math to an MBA. Can you sort of walk us through the reason why you decided to go into MBA or start your MBA?
Yeah, I loved working in the biopharma industry. And one thing that piqued my interest more recently, I recently received my MBA in 2020, was I wanted to understand the business end. And that's business acumen is something I had very minor knowledge in. I was working in the labs, but wanted to see how does our other folks like on our supply chain and financial team make the decisions they make. And how do they come into play in the decision making for the business? And I didn't have experience in that. And that's what kind of piqued my interest is, do I continue in the science route and get a master's of science, or do I also complement my undergraduate skills with the business skills? And I think it complements very well for myself and my career and what I'm doing, because now I can understand why decisions are made in the industry and how other supporting functions come into play.
Yeah, I agree. And so with that, where are you applying your degree right now?
I want to say everywhere, everywhere.
Okay.
So the MBA comes into play when I am supporting functions and I want to understand the financial, the stakeholder analysis or business case is coming into play. The science and the undergrad and biomedical lab science comes into play when working with the manufacturing teams in my current role. And when I work with the manufacturing teams or the quality teams, I come in and also I come in to translate and bring the teams together
I love
to
that.
understand, hey, this is why they're thinking this way. Like, this is why my manufacturing is thinking this way. But also, this is why finance is making some decisions or the procurement teams is making some decisions. And that's why it's coming into play this way. And like, how can we understand and meet each other where we are, but understand what other people are coming from? And that's why Excel is like bringing people together and having the conversation and sometimes translating one mindset or skill set to the other.
So with that, when did you first realize that the mind plays just a big role in success as much as the skill or intelligence in STEM?
Noticing how does mindset play into long-term kind of success?
Mm-hmm.
I think all the way. Like, if I think about some things my late brother would always say to me, it's like, if you put your mind and energy into something, it will happen. And that was like when we would play sports together, right? He would also like, he always beat me in sports. And it would be a sport that I always excelled in. Like, for example, tennis. I would teach him tennis and he'll beat me and he will say, well, I came in to play with you knowing that I will win. So I'm going to give it my all. And also planning. I go back to my dad, like he was always a long-term planner, right? So always thinking long-term of any decisions I'm making or any decisions that I'm supporting helps a lot. And then also reading and learning from other people before me and how they thought through things and how they had the opportunity to not only think in the short term, but long term.
I love the planning aspect because, like, you always get these questions in interviews. What are your 5, 10 year plans? And sometimes I'm like, I really don't know, but but I feel like planning, maybe not too far, but like understanding where you want to be is as important to like put your mental state there. Like people say, like fake it till you make it. I think that's something part of planning. It's not like fake it till you make it, but act as if you want to be where your plan is heading.
Yeah. And also, I want to just say one thing on long-term planning. It's okay to change your plan and your goals because sometimes we have a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan or even a 1-year plan. And then you can also change your mind and you can also pivot and change and adapt to new instances because let's say what it is, life happens and it's okay to not give up fully, but also change as things around you evolve and change.
I totally agree. And with life and all your career paths, what has been your most challenging moment professionally and what did it teach you about yourself?
I was the first in my family to enter corporate America. It's very challenging and not having somebody in my family to reach out to and connect with, it was difficult. But having difficult bosses, I've had amazing bosses and amazing leaders to look up to, but I've also had very difficult leaders and bosses that had a direct impact on myself. But how do I combat that is I recognize that it's my decision how I react to certain decisions, to certain conversations or decisions that are made that is impacting me. So that's one. And I've tried to advocate and stand up to for myself when things are not looking fair or right, having the difficult conversation and recognizing that I have the power to say no or leave when I am not treated the best.
Wow.
Or in a way that I know I should be treated.
I feel like what you just said is like, it's so hard for people to do that. Like, even when you're not treated well, you could say no or leave. I feel like so many people want to do that, but struggle with doing it. What was the mindset that made you be like, okay, this is something I need to do. Like, I either need to say no or leave.
My mindset came from, it's probably a book or a podcast that says you get what you accept. And when people are speaking down or undercutting my work or talking down to me or trying to belittle me, if I accept it, I'm going to, like, if I take it, I get it, I accept it. But I also recognize that I don't have to accept it. So I recognize if I get what I accept, I'll say, I'm not going to accept this, and opening the discussion and saying it. It feels horrible. It is not the most, having horrible or difficult conversation does not feel nice. But after it, I feel at the end of the day, when I stand up and stick up for myself, I feel amazing. I feel great. And I give myself grace and just pat myself on the back and say, you just had a difficult conversation. That felt horrible, but you stuck up for yourself. And you said that was whatever was on my mind, on my chest, and let it out. Now, I am not saying to go and do the same thing that is happening to you. Don't belittle somebody. Don't speak down to them, but let them know what they did and the impact they're having. If it's right or wrong, let them know. And also let them know how it made me feel and how I perceived their actions. And then if they don't try to change or meet me somewhere, I recognize that I live in the US. There are various and amazing companies out there that would value my work. And it's difficult to say goodbye, but it's also okay to say goodbye if it's not serving me.
Yeah, I highly resonate with like speaking up and being like speaking up respectfully and being like, hey, this is how I felt, or this is how I've been feeling, or this is how you're treating me. And then seeing if that person is going to act upon it or not, then you see the level of respect they have for you. And if they don't fix it, as you were saying, if you don't fix it or they don't try to find the middle ground between the two of you, because every person is different, then that means they don't respect you.
Exactly. And I want to give like the benefit of the doubt for some people, because everyone is peopling, I call it. Like things just happen in everyone's life, and not everybody, and I've seen this before, recognize how they showed up. And I want, I assume good intent when I have these conversations, and I say, this is how it showed up for me. This is how I felt in the moment, and give them the opportunity to either correct it or fix it.
With that, as an early career person, and some people listening to this are early mid-career, and when I talk about showing up to work and walking into work, sometimes people feel like they don't belong in a room or they don't belong there. So have you ever felt that way?
But all the time, right now. But I recognize that, and I've learned now that it's not always me. I'm not the only one feeling that, right? And I go back, I just mentioned that people are peopling to Brene's Brown, and she always says like people, like they're all people, we're all people. And sometimes we're dealing with the same things. Like for me, I have a 5-year-old daughter. So people in the room, right, are dealing with kids having meltdown before school or coming into work. Some people are dealing with chaos in the home and loads of laundry undone and forgetting to send that email at the end of the night, or an email is in draft, or work like power lunches or work meetings, going early in the morning, late at night, studying. So I recognize that I feel like that all the time, but I also have to check myself and say, well, if I'm feeling this way, somebody else must be feeling something similar. So I try to remind myself that all the time, especially when I'm nervous.
Yeah, I feel like, it's just the recognition that everyone feels that way too. Because, like, no one knows what they're doing most of the time. They're just like there to learn and there to adapt and just like try to grow based on what is getting thrown at them.
Yeah. We're all trying to figure this out together in the chaos of life.
It's our first time living, so we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to when you just said that you're the first person in your family to go into corporate America, and you didn't have a family member to go back to and be like, hey, how do I do this? My question is, how did you know how to look for the right job as your first job? Yeah.
It's going back to in university. I must say I met some great professors who has helped me along the way. So I did not know where to apply. I didn't even know which titles to look for. And then at BU, they had open career services. I don't know if the universities are all doing this now, but you would go and bring your resume, which in your first job, there's nothing on the resume, right?
Exactly.
So you're going to these career fairs and pitching yourself. So they would also have us practice our elevator pitch. And I went to my professor and I'm like, I don't even know what I want to do. I don't know what the jobs entail. So that professor at the time talked about different manufacturing roles, and they had like QC role, QA roles, manufacturing on the shop floor. And so I said, I know nothing. Where should I start? And they're the ones who talked about being in the lab and manufacturing. You get to see things, what's going on around the lab. And sometimes you have the opportunity to go outside the lab. So I started going to like the career fairs and saying, what lab jobs do you have for entry level? And I met a recruiter who then brought me into the company around the corner from BU. And it was like, perfect. I will take it and get to learn. And then going in to my first role, I think I call it pleading ignorance. So saying everything I don't know, saying this is my first job, help me understand the ins and outs, and spending the time for the things I did not know to study. So whatever you put in, especially when you're studying and researching, school and academia teaches you one thing, then you go into a lab and it looks totally different. Analyzing data or running a manufacturing line or working in micro looks differently when you're actually doing it. So then I went into work, did the job, asked a ton of questions, probably annoy everybody around me, and then taking everything back home and doing not only my homework for academia, but doing my homework for the lab so I can understand and speak to the work I'm doing. And that has also allowed me to be step out of the lab and have conversations with others, because I was able to articulate what I'm doing and the impact it has on the business and the company. I think that also is why I wanted to understand the business end subconsciously back then, and then pursued it later on.
I do want to ask, what was your position? Like that first ever job, what was it called?
Manufacturing Associate 1.
And then what's your position right now? I just want to highlight how like you could go from that to something.
I am the Director of Learning and Development, and I support the CMC, which is the Chemistry Manufacturing and Control, and the corporate functions or G&A functions. So I support legal, finance, brand, and HR teams, all supporting in the upskilling and learning.
From not knowing what the industry looks like to being a leader in an amazing company.
Yeah. But ask all the questions along the way. Annoy everybody.
Annoy him. That's how I am. I ask every question. Like, I have no shame. I'm like, if I ask, it's like, I don't know what this is. Please explain it to me. Like, I'm new. I'm just like, I'm early in my career. I'm here to learn. So I'm that way too. I'm like, I really have no shame.
Go on the coffee chats. So that's something I recently learned. I think in my MBA program, they talked about coffee chats and the importance of it, because sometimes, like me, we talk about the imposter syndrome, you don't want to ask a question in front of everyone, right? So the person's pinging like, wait, what does this mean? But then you ask for a coffee chat and you have those conversations where you can go deeper, and then ask the person, like I'm doing it in a couple of weeks with our chief procurement officer. I have a couple of questions on what his team is doing. I want to support them and help them, but I don't understand that field enough. So I ask, can I have a coffee chat or lunch with you to understand really what your mindset, how you're thinking, and bringing it through. I want to understand and learn it because I don't. And then I go back, because I take notes, and I do a little bit of research so I can come back and have the conversation and said, okay, you said this. I am interpreting like that. Does that all interline and interconnect? And does it make sense?
Wow, I love that. I'm taking mental notes. I could do that. So you did say imposter syndrome, and I feel like so many people, whether in science or not in science, they just struggle with that. So what does imposter syndrome look like at someone in your level right now?
By no means I'm the CEO and executive at my company, right? Imposter syndrome shows up differently in different spaces, right? When I am in the room with senior leaders and they're speaking so high level that I have to write notes to follow along, it shows up then. Or it also can show up in places that I'm not well versed or familiar in. Right. So there's some rooms I'm asked to sit in and be a fly on the wall or learn. And then I don't know the topic very well, and I'm not well versed. And I don't know the intricate details that I think I should know coming into the room. And it shows up there as well.
Yeah, I feel like imposter syndrome comes in different ways. It's not a one size fits all. And you just explained it perfectly how, like, at different instances you might feel it, and at different instances you're just like the confident one there, and you're just like either leading the conversation or help lead the conversation as well. So, in the moments when things weren't going your way, maybe during like a transition or like a mishap, kept you going?
When things are not going my way, for me, sometimes I can go in this downward spiral of like, it's never going to come back and it's not going well. How do I get out of it? So right now, when things aren't going my way or the way I want it to go or the way I plan for it to go, I try to fully disconnect. And it's sometimes taking a walk, not looking at emails. Sometimes just call. It depends on the situations, with calling my friend and speaking the issue or instance out loud. And then, because our brains try to protect us, right? And they can tell you, okay, this is going wrong, and here's what other things that's going to go wrong. So when I say things out loud or I go for a walk, I try to tell my brain, okay, let's quiet, take a couple of deep breaths, and let's center. What is the issue on hand? How are we going to tackle it? And if it's an issue that can be solved through a conversation, bringing people together to fix the problem, or just letting time pass, we'll do that. And then I come back and recenter myself and tackle the problem.
Wow. Yeah,
It's very hard.
Yeah, it is. I feel like stepping back and just like reassessing everything that's going on is really important. But people, myself included, I tend to overthink and just
We all
like,
do.
yeah, overthink and overthink and overthink. And as you were saying, I would like tend to let myself spiral. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, wait a minute. No, this is not healthy.
Yeah.
It's
And I
not
try
healthy.
to, like, what is the problem statement? Don't add my own opinion. Because I feel like that's what our brain does. It's like, oh, this went wrong. Let's talk
Yeah.
about 10 more things. Let's think about 10 more things that can go wrong and 20
Yeah.
other things, and like make it into a bigger issue. So I always say, okay, what was the issue? What went wrong? Let me say it out loud. Or if you're a writer, write it down. Or like phone a friend, somebody who will check you before you wreck you and say, this is the issue. Am I overthinking it? And don't put in your opinions in there. This is what has happened. Just only state the facts. As an outsider, ask your friend, your mentor, somebody who can give you an unbiased, thoughtful opinion on the situation and go from there. Because if you sit, and that's why someone says, take a step back, or literally standing up and getting away from the situation and walking or taking a couple of breaths outside in another room or not checking the email over and over again will help you reassess the situation.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm taking that. That's my key takeaway.
Yes. Yeah. Because then you will wreck yourself it's a mental thing. It's a mental game.
Yeah. That's so
And
true.
somebody told me this, I'll share it with you. He's no longer at the company, but he says, and I didn't like the saying, he said, you need to be around people who will tell you your kid is ugly. And I thought, no, no one should ever say that. And then he says, well, no, not literally, but you need someone who will tell you the blatant truth in your face, no filter. And I thought, I got it. That saying was not the right thing to say, but I understand now what he meant. And I truly tell people, you really need somebody in your life, especially in this career path and your career journey, who will look you in the face and tell you not what you want or need to hear. Yes, that's important sometimes, but who will give you the unfiltered, factual feedback, especially when it's about yourself, your growth, and your development.
Yeah, that's the only way you'll grow.
Yes.
Wow.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, so hard.
It's hard to receive.
It's hard to receive any kind of input on how you do your day to day. Because, like, people, yes, we have imposter syndrome, but also we think we're doing great and everything we're doing, we're supposed to be doing. But yeah, we don't see these little cracks that someone else might see and be like, hey, like, yeah, you might think you're doing something right, but there's this one thing you're missing for you to grow exponentially.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So with that, how do you differentiate between a necessary career pivot and just giving up?
So how I define just giving up is like stopping or ceasing to try or pursue something. And that's often due to something that's difficult or discouraging. I think that's okay if people doesn't want to continue something. I think it depends, right, on the situation. I personally don't think I've given up on anything. I'm okay when people do if it's something that doesn't serve them in their life or purpose. Some things are meant to be temporary. And if you go into a situation or a role knowing it's temporary, I won't call that giving up, because sometimes you change or you pivot. I wouldn't say you give up based on the circumstances and your plans, right? Career pivots are great. It is essential, especially if it's a role or a skill that you are not well versed or you have not done before. That is the opportunity for you to grow and develop and really stretch yourself. So I feel like giving up Although I don't think I've ever given up on anything. I think giving up is okay if it's not serving you, if it's not allowing you to grow. But pivoting, I think that is where it's going to help you grow and develop, stretch your skills, and truly help you become, I call it, more flexible.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I feel like sometimes a pivot can be like a lateral movement rather than just an upward movement. And I feel like that's really important for people to understand, like that pivot can help you and serve you rather than be like something detrimental for your career.
Absolutely. Lateral movements in your career is also great. You don't always have to grow upward. I think somebody told me this. It's the depth or the breadth, right? Some people want to really go in very deep. So some people spend their whole careers in finance or procurement or quality or manufacturing, and they grow up that ladder. That is amazing. That's the people who like the depth, who like the breadth, where they try various different roles. So they sometimes go in quality, and then they go into manufacturing, and then they go into supply chain, then they go into finance. That's the breadth. And I think that's also an ability to grow laterally as well. And that's super important because as you grow or you take on a new role, even though it's a lateral role with no financial gain, the experience, the exposure, the input from various other individuals in the different functions is a huge growth factor. Because now not only you can speak to what you've done in the past, you can speak to what you're doing now. And that allows you to see the company from various different lenses, bird's eye view.
Yeah, I totally agree. So with being in STEM, a lot of things can go wrong, whether it's in your experiments or trying to jump up the career ladder. So your mindset and motivation can diminish over time if you're trying to keep on fighting against the wave. So what are some daily habits or internal frameworks that have helped you stay grounded and driven?
Daily habits, I would say, I don't want to say I do it every single day. That's a lie. Most days to help keep me grounded is journaling, hands down. Asking myself questions and giving myself prompts to reflect on, right? So I've listened to a TED Talk. It's called How to Discover Your Authentic Self by Bevy Smith. And there's 3 prompts I ask myself at least 3 to 5 days a week. It's who am I at my core? How am I being perceived? And how do I want to be perceived? Those are 3 questions she had talked about. And I try to keep myself grounded and making sure who am I at my core comes first. Because as you mentioned, so many things are going to go wrong in your career. So many things are going to go wrong in your personal life. But who am I at my core needs to come first. And when things don't go wrong is when people have the quick perception or judgment on you. So I try to bring myself in as like, how am I being perceived at this time when things are going right? And especially when things are going wrong, because that's when you're most vulnerable. You're easiest to snap or to let things slip through the crack. And then from there, and how do I want to be perceived is my last and final question I ask myself in my journaling. Then I try to bring myself back and say, now, what do I need to do to ensure that I am aligned to how I want to be perceived?
Wow. Yeah, I'll put the link for that TED Talk in the description, but I'm definitely gonna watch it because I normally journal, like I do a gratitude journal for things that I'm grateful because sometimes you could be so stuck in like what everything's going wrong and not really focus on the things that are going right. That's just our human nature. And so also having a gratitude journal has helped me, but I do want to go more in depth and like do that kind of prompts rather than just like, oh, I'm grateful for this and that.
So I misspoke earlier. So I do the 365 gratitude.
Okay.
Every day. So that's something I do every day. And that's usually 1 or 2 sentences. It's at 9 p.m. every night before I wind down. I say, like, they send you the reminder on your phone from that app.
Okay.
And I just like write one thing. So I do that. But I don't journal. I want to start journaling every day.
Every
I just
day.
need to get up. I do it a decent amount, just not every single day.
I feel like with like a high pressure career and being a mom and like having so much, I feel like 3-4 times a day is super awesome than rather trying to do it every a week, rather than every single day.
Yeah. I would like to get up in my perfect and idealistic world.
Yeah.
I will get up and I'll work out and I'll journal and just sit and have a cup of coffee in silence.
Yeah.
Does not happen.
That sounds like heaven.
Yeah, it does not happen.
My other question is, what's a failure that in hindsight became a gift?
We touched about this earlier. Moving from one company to another, hands down. When you don't feel valued, when people have a perception on you about you, and you're going to work every day just not being happy and at peace. In hindsight, switching from one company to the other was the biggest gift, because then I go to a company who values me, may have amazing colleagues, allow me to grow and develop and bring my ideas to work, be my best self at work. Because where we spend the most time, at least where I spend the most time, is at work. I think that was the biggest gift I gave myself, is switching companies.
And with that gift, how did that change your perception or definition of success?
Then I recognized my success is not about titles or salaries. It is now about what makes me come in every day and live through my purpose, and also what makes me happy.
It's just, so many people think, as you were saying, like, I'm successful if I'm a director or if I'm a CEO, or if like the higher I go up the ladder, the more successful I am, which drains you sometimes if that's the only thing that you're chasing. But as you were saying, if you walk in every day into work so happy because you get to do the work that you're passionate about, that's what is going to keep fueling you and keep you motivated over time.
Yes, absolutely.
So what does a growth mindset mean to you?
So by definition, growth mindset, for me, it's what I define growth mindset is like the abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and perseverance. So for me, having a growth mindset, it's what I put into a new learning or skill, right? So for me right now, I'm trying to really get ahead of the whole AI curve. And how can I incorporate or adopt it into my day-to-day work? So growth mindset for me in my career right now is how can I leverage AI to support me in my day-to-day work, in my life, and knowing that I'm just scratching the surface on the capabilities. I'm spending a ton of time to grow and develop these skills, these learning skills.
When you were explaining your current position, a lot of leading goes on. You're a leader of a great biotech company. So I want to touch upon a little bit about how leading is. So what's one truth about emotional resilience in STEM that most people avoid talking about, especially in your current position?
Emotional resilience. So resilience, how I'm going to think through it, is the ability to adapt well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or even significant source of stress, right? That's kind of the overall definition. One thing I know for sure, given what I've been through in my personal life and professional life, that all of these trauma, tragedy, threats, or adversity is going to pass. It doesn't feel it in the moment. You don't feel like it, especially when you're living through it, but it is going to pass. Nothing lasts forever. Withering through a storm of whatever you're going through with support, whether it be colleagues, co-workers, family, or actually professional support, is super critical. I feel for myself, I try not to keep it in, even that's how I was raised culturally. I do my best to let everything out, whether that means crying or having a conversation. And it comes back to like, nobody talks about it. Like the age-old saying is correct. This too shall pass. In every situation, especially when it's a lot on yourself, every situation, it will pass. It doesn't storm or rain forever, right? But hunker down, get the right people and network to support you through the storm. Lean into that. They call it the village. Hunker down and let the storm pass.
Let the storm pass. I love that. And so with leading a team and having people that look up to you, but at the same time they're doing like their work, what do you do to create a safe space for people to fail for your team?
I'm going to come back to my comment earlier. So like, we're all people, and failure is for me, is a part of growth. So I need to allow people to fail and recognize not everyone's going to do the work the way I would do it. That's very hard. So allowing and giving the people the grace to fail
Mm-hmm.
allowing and supporting them through their failures and
Mm-hmm.
helping them grow and learn. I welcome people, especially, I don't have anybody directly reporting to me right now
Mm-hmm.
in this role. But when I did have direct reports or people who support my project or connect with me for lunch, coffee, when they bring their failures to me, I always talk about, okay, what are the lessons you learned? Because
Mm-hmm.
generally, people don't make the same mistake twice for
Mm.
the most part.
Yeah.
So how can you learn from that failure?
Mm.
Like it could be a silly mistake that you sent the wrong email to the wrong people. I bet you the next time you will check the email twice before you send it.
Yeah.
You're running an assay and something doesn't go right, you made a mistake. That mistake will never happen again, but acknowledging it. What did you learn
Mm-hmm.
from the mistake? How did you catch the mistake?
Mm.
Opening the floor to have that conversation and recognize, okay, that was a failure, but let's talk about how it will never happen. It will never happen, likely never happen again. And how can you grow from it?
So looking back, do you think success in STEM is more about the knowledge or the mindset?
Both, right? STEM careers really support something that I believe in, right? The
Mm-hmm.
best care for our patients, especially having family members who has passed, not having the right medicines. So the knowledge needs to be there. That's critical, hands
Mm-hmm.
down. But the mindset as well, because these businesses run by people, the
Mm-hmm.
mindset is also very critical in helping teams and colleagues and families to bring their best selves to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's either or for me.
Yeah.
They both complement each
Oh,
other.
yeah. And so what's one belief about success you used to hold that you've since unlearned?
Success is defined as financial gains, 100%. I used to think, okay, when you make X amount of money, you're successful. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's not all about the financial gain. Although
Mm-hmm.
it's nice,
Yeah, true.
right? You need to be compensated well, but it's not only about that. It's
Mm-hmm.
how you get to live in your purpose. I think that's for me.
And you get to do that every day now.
Yeah. I try to.
Yeah. So if this is my final question before we jump into career corner. If
Mhm.
a young professional asked you, "How do I stay motivated when nothing's working?" What would you honestly say?
I would honestly, truly say that nothing's going to work all the time. You would say nothing's working, that's your brain. Something has to be working for you to have the
Yeah.
conversation. Be patient, right? Let's define what is not working. Let's
Mm-hmm.
define really, like that's called like the question, like really what is not working. Staying resilient. And let's weather this path or weather this storm together. Because when whatever that is does work, oh, it's going to feel so good. It's going
Mm-hmm.
to be so good, and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
look back and reflect on it and thought like, wow, that was so minor. So like people come to me like, I'm trying to apply for an internship or co-op or a job and nothing is working. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, let's figure out this one thing is not working. Let's figure it out. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
patient. We have to stay resilient here. Buckle up. It's very hard right now in the
Mm-hmm.
climate we are. But when you do find that job, the internship, the co-op, you're going to feel so relieved and you feel so good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like it's more not just look at the bigger picture, this is what's going wrong, but pinpoint the problem and trying to fix it is more important than just, as we were talking about, with spiraling and
Yes.
overthinking.
Yeah. Because we do it. Every human
Yeah.
does it.
I agree. We do. It's our human nature.
Yeah.
So next up is Career Corner. Career Corner is a listener submitted questions where I'll just read the questions and we'll give our take and advice just to help others in STEM to truly succeed. So my first question is from Priya. Everyone around me seems so confident and I'm just trying not to mess up. How do you build confidence when you're still learning?
Priya, I promise you, everyone is faking it. Not everyone is that confident, right? It's like the Instagram videos we see, get ready
Mm-hmm.
with me in the morning, and everyone's like working out and drinking that cup of coffee and journaling every morning. They're all faking it, right? So what are you doing to help boost your confidence? What are you doing to help boost that you show up confident as well? What are they doing that make them seem confident to you, right? That you're perceiving them as confident. And let's
Mm-hmm.
work on that small skill, right? What skill set or attributes do you want to work on, right? We don't want to compare ourselves to everybody. It's
Yeah.
good to set a standard based on what you see. But what can you do to help build your confidence and develop skills or attributes that you want to emulate? And just pick one
Mm-hmm.
and work on it.
It's just, I tell myself it's about being 1% better every day. You don't have to be
Yeah.
100 because the compound interest is way more important than trying to be perfect every single time.
Yes. And I
Mm.
love that.
Yeah.
Also, nobody's also perfect. So show
Yeah.
up authentically.
I agree. Yeah, as we were saying before too, most of the people don't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
so they're just winging it.
Yes. We're all figuring it out. We're all
Yeah,
learning.
exactly. Exactly. My second question is from Daniel. I've hit a point where I'm not even sure if STEM is still for me. I used to love it. Now I just feel tired. Is this normal? And how do you know when to pivot versus push through?
So, Dan, I have so many questions for you. How do you know it's no longer for you? Is it one career? Is it one position? Because STEM, there's a lot of careers within the STEM industry and field. We talked about this earlier in the podcast. Pivoting is also good. You're not giving up. You would love to pivot. So maybe what makes you great in STEM will make you great in another industry or field. So really think through like what makes you a great human, a great person, what gets you excited to go to work every day. And if it's not going to be in a STEM career as you initially thought, that's okay. What would you want to do next? You're not giving up. You're trying to figure out how you can show up and be your best self.
But yeah, I I have nothing to add. I'm taking that advice to heart because sometimes I feel like when I want to take the next step, I don't know what to do. So trying to reevaluate, and as we were talking before, like take a step back and talk to someone so they can help you out is really, really, really important.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for this conversation. I had such a great time. I personally learned so much about how to deal with imposter syndrome, how to shift my mindset and keep moving forward. All thanks to you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to come and speak and be
Mm,
as truthful as authentic based on my experience. Everything I've
yeah,
said here is based on my experience. So
absolutely.
I'm also learning and growing and dealing with the same imposter syndrome or not feeling like I belong in certain rooms. So here to help and support. But thank you. This was amazing.
It's such a fresh breath of fresh air seeing someone in your position also going through the things that someone early in their career there might be going through. So hearing there's these words come from you, and for me as well, it's just something I'm like, okay, this is something you could work through and grow. You just have to have the right tools and resources, and hopefully with this episode people will understand like, hey, you're not alone, and people, whether they're in director positions or still starting off, they are going to feel the same way. But doing the tools and the tips that you gave us, hopefully they'll fight forward and keep growing in STEM. For
Thank you.
everyone, no problem. For everyone tuning in, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and see you in the next episode.